So I talked about Persona 5 the animation and what a travesty that project was. And I think it's only appropriate that I also talk about Persona 4 the animation. One of the main reasons being the vast difference in quality between the two projects. And in my opinion, Persona 4 the animation is good enough to even be a substitute for playing Persona 4.
Jake, they already took it down.
Oh man, but I love dead bodies.
Mom, I'm hungry.
Persona 4's story is actually a bit shorter than Persona 5's. Fitting all of it into one season of anime is not that unreasonable. Now, of course, some things do still happen quite fast, but it never feels like the anime is rushing to get to a specific point in the story. And a key reason for this is how neatly they retold the story while combining unique elements that the main game didn't have. There's never really a dull moment, and that's because the anime has the chance to be creative with its source material. On top of retelling the story of the main game, the team behind this also added to that story. I know there are people who believe and that say that the purpose of an anime is to add to the original, and I kind of disagree with that. I think an anime adaptation should exist to retell the existing story of the source material. Yes, you can add to it, but that's not the purpose. However, truly exceptional anime adaptations tend to give a lot more, and Persona 4's is one of those. On top of just the main story, there are episodes in between that aren't super related to the main story and might feel like they're detracting from it a bit, but that's kind of how Persona works as a whole. You don't jump from story arc to story arc, you finish most of a story arc and then you have a lot of downtime in between. Or at least with Persona 4 and Persona 5. There's usually a lot of downtime between when you complete a dungeon and when the next dungeon starts. So having these extra episodes in between actually really helps make it feel cohesive and like the regular Persona experience.
I'm a very normal bear!
I think one of the main factors in why Persona 4 the animation is just so good is the main character, Yu Narukami.
I'm the king.
In the games, Narukami is silent. He's basically got the standard movements and maybe barely an ounce of personality. If you dive into his character choices and his dialogue choices, you can kind of eke out a personality, but it's not really the same thing as the way they execute Joker, for example, where Joker still is a silent protagonist, but you can really tell his personality just by watching and playing the game.
Can't you say something witty back at her? I knew you were gonna say that.
Yu, on the other hand, is a quintessential silent protagonist. But in the anime, and maybe you can credit the spin-off games as well for this, but Narukami is made into his own character. He's fun, dry, and witty.
You look pretty suspicious.
Are you the killer? Piss off.
And that makes him fit really well into the Persona 4 cast. His characterization goes beyond that as well, giving him his own character moments, like his fear that when the case is closed, his newfound friends will slowly drift apart because they have no reason to be together anymore. Or his fear of leaving Inaba, because it means he's leaving behind all that he's gained from there. I wouldn't say he's the deepest or best written, but giving him his own character and personality really helps go a long way in establishing this as a show.
Now, you were out late.
I was.
You can argue that P5, the animation, did this with Joker, but I felt like since the anime was so rushed, it's hard to really get a hold on Joker's personality. But I feel like with the pacing of the anime, as well as the fact that P5 kind of does this for Joker on their own, it makes P4 the animation feel a bit more unique and entertaining, I suppose. But I guess that's also just Narukami's personality, as opposed to Joker's, who's really just kind of silent most of the time, like purposefully. Not just a decision because they don't want to write dialogue for him, but because he's the way they establish his personality in the game is that he has his moments where he wants to be like a showman, but a lot of the time he's silent and in his shell. And probably for good reason, considering what happens to him. Anyways, let's move on to the other stuff. It's not just Narukami. There's a lot of work done to make this anime work. The social links outside of the main cast also become a smaller part of a story arc in the summer festival, and Nanako's detective arc. I'll admit that there's kind of a lot lost here. Two of, in my opinion, the best social links in the game take a big hit here. But I do like the way this is done as well. I didn't feel like I missed a lot by not having these in the anime. The addition of Aika also showing up adds to the comedic value at least a decent amount, though she really just amounts to being a running gag kind of character. It's not really that bad. But I think the thing that makes Persona 4 the animation good is just how much it feels like this show was a labor of love. It's not perfect, but it is a damn good substitute for the main game, which prior to 2020 or 2021 was not available in many places. And even the fight scenes are done pretty well. There is a purpose and action behind them, and they're not really scattered or limited either. They're used when they need to be used, and also when we need a little bit of action, I guess. Since Persona 4's dungeons are not as scripted and complex as P5's, it's actually easier to convey the important pieces to the audience in the form of an anime. The show doesn't spend a lot of time in the dungeons, but it also doesn't breeze past them like they did in P5. And Persona 4 is a weird whiplash of serious murder mystery and lighthearted fun comedy. The anime continues this trend pretty much to perfection, fitting in light comedic notes wherever possible, which really does help bring this group of friends to life.
Whoa, she's right. I don't freaking believe it.
Is this what you called an
Awesome.
emergency? I was in the
even
middle of
another woman,
doing
too.
something actually important.
As I mentioned before, you even get a bunch of episodes that are just not focused on the main plot, and they do fit into the pacing of this show. It might not seem like much to the outside observer, but I think there's a lot of value in watching this show and playing the game.
Stop or I'll pop a cap in ya!
So is Persona 4 the animation really, really good? Well, it doesn't have the best animation quality, and sometimes the visuals can leave a bit to be desired. But beyond that, it's a great experience that is more than capable of recapturing Persona 4's magic. While you will have to forego content of Persona 4 Golden, there really isn't a lot to lose there. I would say that P4 the animation is fantastic from start to finish, with a good amount of unique and fun moments to sustain a watch through even for people who have played the original game. So if you're looking for something fun to watch, then Persona 4 the animation just might be it. And if you have any thoughts about Persona 4 the animation, you can leave them down in the comments below. As always, you can also leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Persona, Atlas, and JRPG related, if you're interested in that. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.